Jared is such a hidden genius that no one understands. I mean, to redo the NAFTA deal the way he did, what I've done working with him on the Middle East peace plan, it is so unbelievably well done. And Ivanka's been just a great friend, and they do a lot of things behind the scenes that I wish more people knew about, because we're a better country because they're in this administration. I also just have to say, certainly thank you to my family. Michael is a saint, and my two little ones, I adore them. And to Team US-UN. You know, they sacrificed a lot. They put a lot of time and energy into it, but they have a lot of heart and really wanted to make America proud. And so with that, I'm not leaving until the end of the year. My goal is that we make sure that everything is in good place and for the next ambassador to come in. But it's a great day in the United States, and I'm proud to have been part of the team. Now, I don't have anything set on where I'm going to go. I think that the main thing was I was governor for 6 years, and we dealt with a hurricane, a 1,000-year flood, a church shooting, a school shooting. There was a lot. And then to come in and do 2 years of Russia and Iran and North Korea, it's been 8 years of intense time, and I'm a believer in term limits. I think you have to be selfless enough to know when you step aside and allow someone else to do the job. So thank you, Mr. President. It's been an honor of a lifetime. And I will say this, for all of you that are going to ask about 2020, no, I'm not running for 2020. I can promise you what I'll be doing is campaigning for this one. So I look forward to supporting the president in the next election.
That's so good. Thank you, Nikki.
Ambassador Haley, you listed off a long list of accomplishments. Why would you want to leave that all behind? Is it really a personal decision because you've been away from your family for so long? Or is there something else too?
My family is very supportive. So no, there's no personal reasons. I think that it's just very important for government officials to understand when it's time to step aside. And I have given everything I've got these last 8 years. And I do think that sometimes it's good to rotate in other people who can put that same energy and power into it. So there really is, a lot of people are going to want to say.
Just for those of you who are joining us, this is taped playback of Ambassador Nikki Haley. She has announced her resignation as UN Ambassador. She is meeting with President Trump. President Trump spoke some words about her, and she is just going over her reasoning and her choice to give her resignation. She said she'll be resigning at the end of this year.
I just think, and I was just, as Nikki was speaking, I was thinking when we came into office, it was almost inevitable in the minds of many that we were going to war with North Korea. If you ask President Obama, I'm sure he'll tell you that that was by far his biggest problem when we sat and met right here. But that looked like a real problem. Iran looked like a real problem. It was a question of when would they take over the Middle East prior to my coming here, and now Iran is fighting for their lives. They've got riots in all their cities. It's blowing up. Their inflation, their economy is in tatters. And at some point, they'll probably come and want to make a real deal, not the deal that they made, the ridiculous deal that they made. That was unacceptable to me. And so we'll see what happens. But what a difference between Iran when we first came, I'd like to say the day before we came, and also if you look at North Korea, I mean, there was a deal that there was something that was, it was a devastating, potentially devastating problem, and now the relationships are very good. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just left, had a great meeting, also was in China, also spoke to many of the Asian leaders or went there and had some good meetings, but had a really very good meeting with North Korea and Chairman Kim, and we've just made a lot of progress on so many other fronts also. And I think the world, as Nikki said, the world is really respecting the United States again, much more so than they have in many, many decades. We are respected again, that I can tell you, very much respected again. And people want to be on our side. Even if you look at the votes in the United Nations, I mean, votes that we would normally get no votes, we're getting very strong votes now. So I just want to thank Nikki, and I thought this would be an appropriate way of doing it, because when you write it out on a piece of paper that, you know, Ambassador Haley will be leaving, and you say nice things, people say, well, what's going on? This is the right way to do it. And when you really think somebody's done a terrific job. I felt this was an appropriate way of doing it, and we both liked it. So I just want to thank the ambassador. I just want to thank Nikki, okay?
President, what are you thinking about the successor?
Well, we have a number of people that would very much like to do it. It's a great position, and Nikki realizes it. I think she's helped make it a much better position, if you want to know the truth. I think it's become maybe a more glamorous position than it was 2 years ago. Maybe I wonder why, but it is. Yeah, I mean, she's made it a very glamorous position. She's made it a more importantly, a more important position. So we have, I can almost say, many people that want to do it, and they're very good people. And I'll be talking also to Nikki about that, and to the general about that, and to my staff. But we have many people that are very, very much interested in doing it.
You said you just saw Secretary Pompeo. Are you frustrated by the lack of actual announcements that are coming?
No, not only am I not frustrated, I think it's incredible what's happening. You're talking about North Korea? It's amazing the way the media, who are you with?
With France 24.
With who?
France 24.
France.
So it's amazing the way the media says that, for 80 years they couldn't do a thing. And what are we in, 3 months of negotiation? It's ridiculous. As I've said about 1,000 times, you have no rockets flying, you have no missiles flying, you have no nuclear testing, you have nuclear closings, closing up different areas of North Korea. We're getting the remains back, it's already started, of our great heroes, where we got our hostages back, and I didn't pay $1.8 billion like the previous administration. I paid nothing. But I have agreed to meet, and I have agreed to spend time. But how long has it been since we left Singapore? It was 3 months or so. And people say, that's the media saying, like, how can we be negative? Let's see, he's done really well. How can we be negative? Oh, are you disappointed with the speed? I think the speed is amazing. You have no nuclear tests, you have no rockets, and we have a very good relationship with Chairman Kim, which is very important. I like him, he likes me, the relationship is good. Mike Pompeo had a very, very good meeting. I mean, I spoke to him at length yesterday, and he'll be coming back. He'll be back tonight. And so, I mean, just the opposite. I think we've made incredible progress. Beyond incredible. Beyond it. I don't think some of the press, some of the press really covers it accurately and right, but some of the press really doesn't. Yes, John?
Do you want to take this opportunity to tell us when your next meeting with King will be and where it will be?
Well, it is happening, and we're setting that up right now. That was part of the reason that Mike was going over to meet. They're setting up the meeting, and we'll be announcing that probably a different location. Singapore was fantastic, but we'll probably do a different location.
Can you get it tomorrow live?
He'd probably like that. I'd like that too. I think it would be good, but we'll see. We're talking about 3 or 4 different locations. Timing won't be too far away. We've made a lot of progress, and this meeting really is to, people don't realize the importance of the first meeting. I mean, we said
just to loop everybody in who joined late or missed the beginning, this again is taped playback of UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. She has announced her resignation. She's going to resign and end her role as ambassador at the end of this year. She is speaking, this is from earlier today, speaking with President Trump, and President Trump applauded her, said that she'd done a great job, and Haley had not specifically cited any specific reason for her resignation. She kind of just like, it was the right time. I think it's time for somebody else to take on this role. I've done a lot. So she hasn't really said anything specific. She also said that she's not having her sights on any kind of election coming up. So that was what was going on earlier. This has been brewing. A lot of people have kind of guessed that this would happen. This was a report from a few weeks ago that said that it was suspected that she was going to resign. Axios was the one who reported that information. So let me just jump back in. This is President Trump giving some remarks as UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has announced her resignation.
Yes. Excuse me?
When will successor to Ambassador Haley be? When?
When will a successor be named?
Oh, I would say we'll name a successor, I don't know, within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe sooner.
Mr. President, have you spoken to the Saudis about the missing Washington Post columnist?
I have not. No, I haven't. But I will be at some point.
What do you know at this point?
I know nothing right now. I know what everybody else knows, nothing. Just
What's your response to Hillary Clinton saying last night's swearing in of Judge Kavanaugh was more a political event than it was a national event?
I guess that's why she lost. She doesn't get it. She never did. I knew that a long time ago. Hillary never got it. That's why she lost. Anything else?
Sir, the midterms are in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
What's your prediction right now for the GOP, and how's your stamina out on the campaign trail?
I think we're going to do well. What you people would say, I guess, if you saw there was a 5% drop-off, you'd say there's something wrong with the president. You would say, but no, I'm going to Iowa tonight. We have a big, big crowd. Going to make a big announcement tonight, by the way, in Iowa. We're going to be making a very big announcement. And I have to say the farmers are so thrilled with the USMCA, the new agreement. I don't use the word NAFTA because NAFTA was a disaster for our country. NAFTA, we lost millions and millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of factories and plants, and bad for farmers. You look what happened. Farmers over the last 15 years, it's only gone down. Now they're going to go up. We just opened up Mexico. We just opened up Canada. And it's great for our farmers. But I'm going to Iowa tonight, and we'll be talking a little ethanol tonight. And got some great things planned. And speaking of that, I will say, if you look at industries, the steel industry in this country is back like nothing I've ever seen before. In a period of 6 months since we started doing what I'm doing, the steel industry has literally revived. U.S. Steel is opening up 8 plants. Nucor is opening up. The steel industry in our country is really, really hot. So it's really been great. But I'll be going to Iowa tonight.
What about Secretary Pompeo's meeting in China? How did that go?
Very well. Very well. No, we're very well. We have a very good relationship with China, but you know they took out $500 billion out of our country for many years, each year, and we just can't let that happen. This should have been talked about by people in this chair for many years. Look, for years and years, they were taking out $200, $300, $400, and even $500 billion a year. We helped rebuild China. If we don't do that, China's not where they are right now. And that's fine with me, but we're not doing it any longer.
You promised more tariffs on China if they retaliate.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Are you going to go forward with that?
100%. If they do that, if they retaliate, what does retaliate mean? They've already retaliated. They've taken out $500 billion. I think that's the ultimate retaliation. Now, look, China wants to make a deal, and I say they're not ready yet. I just say they're not ready yet. And we've canceled a couple of meetings because I just say they're not ready to make a deal. We can't have a one-way street. It's got to be a two-way street. It's been a one-way street for 25 years. We've got to make it a two-way street. We've got to benefit also. Okay? Thank you. Any other questions? So I just want to finish because this is really the pure reason for this is, Nikki, you've been fantastic. You're my friend. And I just, on behalf of the country, I want to thank you for a great job. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got a couple things.
Yeah, just talk a little, see what they wind up doing, and then if they're done with it, we just wrap it up.
Okay, cool. Hey everybody, this is Sam here in the newsroom. You just saw some taped playback of UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. She's announced her resignation. She said she's going to resign at the end of the year. She just spoke to President Trump, and we weren't allowed to go in live for the full thing, but they gave us some taped playback, so that's what you saw from just a minute ago. This was from a little bit earlier today, and Haley announced her resignation. this kind of seems sudden. There was one media outlet called Axios that first reported it, that she was going to be discussing her resignation last week when she visited the president at the White House, and Axios also reported that that a number of senior foreign policy officials were also kind of shocked with the news. This comes after there's been a lot of, obviously big debates among international diplomacy here in the U.S. With talks with North Korea, the work with Department of State Mike Pompeo, and they spoke a little bit about that in the press briefing. President Trump was obviously very proud of, what he says our accomplishments have been so far in our work with North Korea, and this has come as the UN has announced that the U.S. has announced that they are going to be removing themselves from the Human Rights Council in with the United Nations. I believe they're playing it back again, so if anybody wants to watch, let me just briefly pull up. I can pull up a tweet from President Trump. I think they're going to be speaking again soon. Let's see. Well, I have Sarah Sanders. She just said that Nikki Haley and the president were going to be speaking. That was Sarah Sanders' tweet earlier today. But we do have some playback again for anyone who missed the beginning, so we're going to jump right into that.
Carolina for 8 years, and then she did this, and this is possibly even more intense with what's going on in the world, and very dangerous and a lot of things. But she's done a fantastic job, and we've done a fantastic job together. We've solved a lot of problems, and we're in the process of solving a lot of problems. At the beginning, North Korea was a massive problem, and now we're moving along. It's moving along really nicely. I can speak for Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. He thinks the world of Nikki, and so we're all happy for you in one way, but we hate to lose. Hopefully you'll be coming back at some point, but you want to just in maybe a different capacity. You can have your pick. But I just want to let you know. So at the end of the year, Nikki will be leaving, and we'll be in constant touch. I know that. Whenever you have any ideas, you're going to call me because you know all the players. And that was really the thing I think she did best at the United Nations. She got to know the players. She got to know China, Russia, India. She knows everybody on a very first-name basis, and they like her, except for maybe a couple, which is normal, right? They can't all like you, but they do. They really like her, and I think maybe more importantly, they respect her. So, Nikki, I just wanted to tell you that we will miss you. We'll be speaking all the time, but we will miss you nevertheless, and you have done a fantastic job, and I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I want to say, first of all, I want to thank the president for just, allowing us to come out and talk to you this way. It has been an honor of a lifetime. I said I am such a lucky girl to have been able to lead the state that raised me and to serve a country I love so very much has really been a blessing, and I want to thank you for that. But I'm most excited. Look at the 2 years. Look at what has happened in 2 years with the United States on foreign policy. Now, the United States is respected. Countries may not like what we do, but they respect what we do. They know that if we say we're going to do something, we follow it through, and the president proved that, whether it was with the chemical weapons in Syria, whether it's with NATO, saying that other countries have to pay their share. Whether it's the trade deals, which have been amazing, they get that the president means business, and they follow through with that. But then if you look at just these 2 years at the UN, we've cut $1.3 billion in the UN's budget. We've made it stronger. We've made it more efficient. South Sudan, we got an arms embargo, which was a long time coming. 3 North Korean sanctions packages, which were the largest in a generation, done in a way that we could really work towards denuclearizing North Korea. The Iran deal, bringing attention to the world that every country needs to understand you can't overlook all of the bad things they're doing. You have to see them for the threat that they are. I think you look at the anti-Israel bias and the strength and courage that the president showed in moving the embassy and showing the rest of the world we will put our embassy where we want to put our embassy. You know, all of those things have made a huge difference in the U.S. standing, but I can tell you that the U.S. is strong again, and the U.S. is strong in a way that should make all Americans very proud. And I do want to say that it's not just the president I want to thank. The family in general, the First Lady has been nothing but very, very kind to me. I can't say enough good things about Jared and Ivanka. Jared is such a hidden genius that no one understands. I mean, to redo the NAFTA deal the way he did, what I've done working with him on the Middle East peace plan, it is so unbelievably well done. And Ivanka's been just a great friend, and they do a lot of things behind the scenes that I wish more people knew about, because we're a better country because they're in this administration. I also just have to say, certainly thank you to my family. Michael is a saint, and my two little ones, I adore them. And to Team US-UN. You know, they sacrificed a lot. They put a lot of time and energy into it, but they have a lot of heart and really wanted to make America proud. And so with that, I'm not leaving until the end of the year. My goal is that we make sure that everything is in good place and for the next ambassador to come in. But it's a great day in the United States, and I'm proud to have been part of the team. Now, I don't have anything set on where I'm going to go. I think that the main thing was I was governor for 6 years, and we dealt with a hurricane, a 1,000-year flood, a church shooting, a school shooting. There was a lot. And then to come in and do 2 years of Russia and Iran and North Korea, it's been 8 years of intense time, and I'm a believer in term limits. I think you have.
For those of you just joining us on Facebook and on YouTube, this is tape playback of UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. She has announced that she is resigning. She's stepping down as ambassador to the UN. She's speaking here with President Trump. This is from earlier today. She said that she's not going to resign today. She's renouncing. She's resigning at the end of the year, and she doesn't have specific plans. I believe this is the part where she says they were asking her about her plans to run. She said she doesn't have any plans to run in 2020. She's going to be supporting the president in his re-election campaign. So let's check in with that.
When it's time to step aside. And I have given everything I've got these last 8 years, and I do think that sometimes it's good to rotate in other people that same energy and power into it. So there really is, a lot of people are going to want to say there's a lot of reasons why I'm leaving. The truth is, I want to make sure that this administration, the president, has the strongest person to fight. It was a blessing to go into the UN with body armor every day and defend America. And I'll always do that. I'll never truly step aside from fighting for our country. But I will tell you that I think it's time.
And Mr. President, why make the announcement now as opposed to after the midterms?
Well, Nikki's going to be staying till the end of the year, which will be just about 2 years. And I just think, and I was just as Nikki was speaking, I was thinking when we came into office, it was almost inevitable in the minds of many that we were going to war with North Korea. If you ask President Obama, I'm sure he'll tell you that that was by far his biggest problem when we sat and met right here. But that looked like a real problem. Iran looked like a real problem. It was a question of when would they take over the Middle East prior to my coming here, and now Iran is fighting for their lives. They've got riots in all their cities. It's blowing up. Their inflation, their economy is in tatters. And at some point, they'll probably come and want to make a real deal, not the deal that they made, the ridiculous deal that they made. That was unacceptable to me. And so we'll see what happens. But what a difference between Iran when we first came, I'd like to say the day before we came, and also if you look at North Korea, I mean, there was a deal that there was something that was, it was a devastating, potentially devastating problem, and now the relationships are very good. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just left, had a great meeting, also was in China, also spoke to many of the Asian leaders or went there and had some good meetings, but had a really very good meeting with North Korea and Chairman Kim, and we've just made a lot of progress on so many other fronts also. And I think the world, as Nikki said, the world is really respecting the United States again, much more so they haven't than they have in many, many decades. We are respected again, that I can tell you, very much respected again. And people want to be on our side. Even if you look at the votes in the United Nations, I mean, votes that we would normally get no votes, we're getting very strong votes now. So I just want to thank Nikki, and I thought this would be an appropriate way of doing it, because when you write it out on a piece of paper that, you know, Ambassador Haley will be leaving, and you say nice things, people say, well, what's going on? This is the right way to do it. And when you really think somebody's done a terrific job, I felt this was an appropriate way of doing it, and we both liked it. So I just want to thank the ambassador. I just want to thank Nikki, okay?
Mr. President, who are you thinking about for a successor?
Well, we have a number of people that would very much like to do it. It's a great position, and Nikki realizes it. I think she's helped make it a much better position, if you want to know the truth. I think it's become maybe a more glamorous position than it was 2 years ago. Maybe I wonder why, but it is. Yeah, I mean, she's made it a very glamorous position. She's made it a more importantly, a more important position. So we have, I can almost say, many people that want to do it, and they're very good people. And I'll be talking also to Nikki about that, and to the general about that, and to my staff. But we have many people that are very, very much interested in doing it.
You said you just saw Secretary Pompeo. Are you frustrated by the lack of actual announcements that are coming?
No, not only am I not frustrated, I think it's incredible what's happening. You're talking about North Korea? Mm-hmm. It's amazing the way the media, who are you with?
With France 24.
With who?
France 24.
So it's amazing the way the media says that, you know, for 80 years they couldn't do a thing. And what are we in, 3 months of negotiation? It's ridiculous. As I've said about 1,000 times, you have no rockets flying, you have no missiles flying, you have no nuclear testing, you have nuclear closings, they're closing up different areas of North Korea. We're getting the remains back, it's already started, of our great heroes. We got our hostages back, and I didn't pay $1.8 billion like the previous administration. I paid nothing. But I have agreed to meet, and I have agreed to spend time. But how long has it been since we left Singapore? It was 3 months or so. And people say, that's the media saying, like, how could we be negative? Let's see, he's done really well. How could we be negative? Oh, are you disappointed with the speed? I think the speed is amazing. You have no nuclear tests, you have no rockets, and we have a very good relationship with Chairman Kim, which is very important. I like him, he likes me, the relationship is good. Mike Pompeo had a very, very good meeting. I mean, I spoke to him at length yesterday, and he'll be coming back. He'll be back tonight. And so, I mean, just the opposite. I think we've made incredible progress. Beyond incredible. Beyond it. I don't think that some of the press, I must be, some of the press really covers it accurately and right, but some of the press really doesn't. Yes, John?
Do you want to take this opportunity to tell us when your next meeting with Kim will be and where it will be?
Well, it is happening, and we're setting that up right now. That was part of the reason that Mike was going over to meet. They're setting up the meeting, and we'll be announcing that probably a different location. Singapore was fantastic, but we'll probably do a different location.
Can you get him tomorrow what?
He'd probably like that. I'd like that too. I think it would be good, but we'll see. We're talking about 3 or 4 different locations. Timing won't be too far away. We've made a lot of progress, and this meeting really is to, you know, people don't realize the importance of the first meeting. I mean, we said point number 1, denuclearization, and for some reason the press doesn't pick that up. But that was actually point number 1. They've agreed to denuclearization, and they continue to agree, and they continue. Now, we haven't removed sanctions, as you know. You know, people said, what have we done? We haven't removed sanctions. We have very big sanctions. I'd love to remove them, but we have to get something for doing it.
Any chance the meeting could be on U.S. soil?
Well, you know, I don't want to embarrass anybody by asking. I think eventually we're going to have lots of meetings on U.S. soil and on their soil, by the way. It's just, you know, that's a two-way street, on their soil also. I think that the country of North Korea is going to be a very successful country. I think it's going to be incredibly economically successful. And I want to make it that way. I think it's going to be great. Other countries, other people, entrepreneurs, banks, I will tell you, they're calling, wanting to go there and wanting to invest. At some point, when Chairman Kim makes that decision, I think he's going to unleash something that's going to be spectacular, really spectacular. And I think he knows it, and I think that's one of the reasons that we're having very successful conversations. I think he wants to get on with it.
President, when will a successor
Yes.
to Ambassador Haley be named?
Excuse me?
When will a successor to Ambassador Haley be named? When?
What is it?
When will a successor be named?
Oh, I would say we'll name a successor, I don't know, within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe sooner.
Mr. President, have you spoken to the Saudis about the missing Washington Post columnist?
I have not. No, I haven't. But I will be at some point.
What do you know at this point?
I know nothing right now. I know what everybody else knows, nothing. John?
What's your response to Hillary Clinton saying last night's swearing in of Judge Kavanaugh was more a political event than it was a national event?
I guess that's why she lost. She doesn't get it. She never did. I knew that a long time ago. Hillary never got it. That's why she lost. Anything else?
Sir, the midterms are in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
What's your prediction right now for the GOP, and how's your stamina out on the campaign trail?
I think we're going to do well. Well, you people would say, I guess, if you saw there was a 5% drop-off, you'd say there's something wrong with the president. You would say, but no, I'm going to Iowa tonight. We have a big, big crowd. I'm going to make a big announcement tonight, by the way, in Iowa. We're going to be...
Hello, everybody out there on YouTube and Facebook. Sam here in the newsroom. I am joined by Tom Fitzgerald. We are just watching the latest playback. As you saw, Ambassador Nikki Haley, she announced her resignation. She's going to be stepping down as UN Ambassador at the end of this year. We have some alerts going on here in the newsroom.
I think that's loud enough.
Yeah. They might not hear it, but I hear it. So it's hard
I think
to...
you can hear it through the windows of your own home wherever you're watching this.
Maybe they can hear it in Delaware. So this was kind of a little bit of surprising news for some people.
It was, in a lot of ways, Nikki Haley was a surprising UN ambassador from the get-go. Remember, she was one of those Republicans, not quite a never Trump, but certainly she endorsed Marco Rubio. She had very pointed things to say about Donald Trump during the run-up to the 2016 election, and campaigned against him. So initially, when Donald Trump was putting together his cabinet, Nikki Haley was one of those people who floated for a possible Secretary of State, along with Russ Tillerson. Reporting on this has been that the job was offered to Haley, and then she turned it down, feeling that she had not had enough requisite experience to become the Secretary of State, and felt more comfortable going to the UN.
That was an interesting move from being governor to being UN ambassador.
Well, the one thing about the UN ambassador's job is that it differs from any other ambassador's job, and that is at a cabinet position. Most of your foreign service officers who hold ambassadorships, around the world, except in strategic countries that the United States has a strategic interest in, are normally ceremonial posts largely. In some countries that are maybe not at the front page of the newspapers every day. UN is not that. When you're the United Nations ambassador, you're one of the president's top foreign policy voices, not only for his administration, but for the United States around the world.
Right.
So for Nikki Haley to go into the Trump administration in 2016, having run against, him as supporting Marco Rubio initially, was surprising to a lot of people because, Nikki Haley, despite the fact that she is a female and she has parents who are, immigrant parents, was not somebody that you would initially leap to mind when you thought of a candidate for the Trump cabinet. She made the Trump cabinet, I think, probably reach into Republican establishment a lot more than it had been. Up until that point, there were a lot of newcomers in that cabinet initially. A lot is going to be made right now about people defecting from this administration. It's true.
I mean, it's been going on since the start. I mean, obviously, it's been coming in shifts.
A lot of people have left, but typically most cabinets do tend to have this turnover especially as you approach the midterms. Remember, we're on our second Secretary of State. We're on our second Chief of Staff at the White House. There's a whole long list of cabinet jobs of people who have come and gone through the Trump administration. So the fact that Nikki Haley had lasted, almost before a couple of weeks before the midterm election, not only is surprising in the fact of her longevity in this administration, which has really been topsy-turvy as far as people coming and going, but also the fact that it raises this question of what's next for Nikki Haley. She's young. She emerges from this administration with reputation relatively intact. She's been a strong advocate, not only for the United States interests, but even in these 2 years in the Trump administration, she's not been shy about taking on the president when she thought it was necessary in certain instances. So in a way, these 2 years may have raised Nikki Haley's profile in a way that even being the governor of South Carolina did not.
So as far as the UN is concerned, what do you think would be coming forward? I mean, there's obviously been a lot of talk. The U.S. made this huge announcement over the summer that they weren't going to be, they were going to be pulling out from the Human Rights Council. That was, that got kind of a big backlash. Obviously, the work with Israel has been a big controversial.
On the Human Rights Council, remember what was at issue there was that the Human Rights Council was a Human Rights Council in name only, and that it wasn't doing the job it was supposed to be doing. And that was one of the reasons that the United States made that move. In regards to the Middle East peace process, is it settled? No. But has anybody settled it before Nikki Haley? No.
Right.
And that's going back decades and decades and decades now. So I don't know if that's a dent on anybody's resume that they didn't settle Middle East peace. That's a problem that's been vexing every UN ambassador from the United States almost from the moment the United Nations was created in 1948. Right. So on that score, she has probably done more to maybe balance out some of the downturns that the administration has had when it comes to foreign policy, because a lot of times the president will say these things that are designed to be provocative and that are designed to keep friend A and foe on their toes, and Nikki Haley will invariably have to go in afterwards and maybe clear up what exactly the United States policy is. This is a negotiating tactic for years of Donald Trump, way before he ever became president of the United States. So, having Nikki Haley in that job was somebody who, after the tables and chairs were turned over by the president, Nikki Haley could go back in and maybe ease some ruffled feathers that were created by anything that was said in the past.
So what do we think for any sort of replacement? She's not stepping down to the end of this year.
No, she's not. Already names are being floated. Dina Powell is one of them that's being floated. Certainly there are some administration officials. It's been long rumored that Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen has been at odds with the president. However, she is a close confidant of Chief of Staff John Kelly. That could be a possibility. Some of the more, I think, hot button foreign policy figures in the White House, like Stephen Miller, that would probably be a non-starter.
Right.
But remember, the president does have some latitude here to place an ambassador into that job if the Senate doesn't go along with it. John Bolton, who is currently the National Security Advisor, during the George W. Bush administration, John Bolton had been nominated by President George W. Bush as the United Nations ambassador. The Democratic Congress at the time did not go along with that. Bolton was actually appointed to the job through what's called a recess appointment, where the president has the ability to appoint people to these positions if Congress is not in session. So Bolton served out time as United Nations ambassador as a recess appointment. It's way too early within the first hour of this announcement to figure out whether or not there's going to be a fight over the UN ambassadorship, the way we just saw a fight over Supreme Court nomination. politically, I think probably both sides want to probably use the next couple of weeks to concentrate on what is going to be, the main event, which is going to be this midterm elections.
Midterms, yeah.
If
that's going to be telling of a lot of other things coming forward.
In the House, if the Democrats get, 21 seats, the Democrats will take back the House. Over in the Senate, the margin is even smaller. It's a 49 to 51 majority for the Republicans right now. They have a razor-thin majority. But as Mitch McConnell showed us in the last couple of days, you can do things with a razor-thin majority. But if the Democrats take back the Senate, if the Democrats flip the House, hold on to your hats, because it's going to be a whole new ball game, to use a really tired, overused expression to describe that.
Yeah, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, to pull a word out of Bob Woodward's book, it's going to be crazy town.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see.
So we'll see.
I just wanted to bring up a couple of tweets that we had. Everybody had been applauding Haley. Like, as you said before, she's gotten a bit accomplished, even in her short time as UN Ambassador. Vice President Mike Pence, he sent out a statement just congratulating her and thanking her for her service. Heartfelt thanks to Ambassador Nikki Haley for extraordinary service as the U.S. Ambassador for the United Nations. She served our nation with distinction, faithfully advancing President Trump's America First agenda, and she will be missed. Her frank and clear-eyed assessments of global threats, as well as much-needed reforms at the UN, we're in the best tradition of the American leadership. We will always be grateful for Ambassador Haley's courage, intellect, character, and unfailing grace, and we wish her and her family every blessing in years ahead. Lindsey Graham also made some remarks. He said that she's done an outstanding job as ambassador and showed a level of effectiveness rarely seen by someone in this position. He also went on to say, clear, concise voice for American leadership, American values, and has been a true agent of reform when it came to the United Nations. And I know all South Carolinians, where he is from as well, are proud of the service she rendered to our nation and the Trump administration. She has a very bright future and will be a key player in both the future of the Republican Party and our nation as a whole for years to come. But speaking of Lindsey Graham, I was just bringing this up to you.
Is it Carolinians or
the
Carolinians?
Carolinians?
I think it's Carolinians.
Maybe we need somebody from the area to inform us on the pronunciation. But Katie Pavlich made an interesting prediction, which you said isn't gonna happen. But I just thought.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say it's not going to happen. I said
unlikely.
What Lindsey Graham has been saying is the opposite of this. Lindsey Graham has been asked about this and asked about this and asked about this over and over and over and over again. And every time Lindsey Graham has been asked about this, Lindsey Graham gives the same answer, which is, no, I am running for re-election. I don't want to be Attorney General. And that he says he's going to disagree with the president when he disagrees with him and agrees with him when he agrees with him. I think the tea leaf for the idea that Jeff Sessions is going to remain in that job might have been turned yesterday when it became clear that the president was not going to fire Rod Rosenstein. The president had been on a full frontal assault on both Jeff Sessions and Rod Rosenstein for weeks, months, going on a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And whoever has been in his ear in the White House to tone that down a bit seems to be making some kind of an impact, because you hear less out of the president about Jeff Sessions lately than you had prior to the Kavanaugh situation blowing up. But the president is a provocateur, and when things get quiet or the White House does want to direct focus at one thing or another, that could very easily rear its head up again in a moment. But also remember, if Jeff Sessions goes away, that also robs the White House the ability to direct attention to Jeff Sessions. So, nobody probably enjoys being a punching bag at the Department of Justice. However, Jeff Sessions says that he can take it and that he can deal with it and that he can do his job the best he can. And that seems to be the relationship they have settled into.
Yeah.
So
because it has, I do think it's interesting. I mean, obviously this happens with any administration, but
no, this doesn't happen with any administration.
I just meant the rifts, within the party.
Not like this.
But yeah,
not like this.
We've been a little bit on the further side.
We have never had a president of the United States regularly and intensely attack his own attorney general the way this one has. This is unprecedented by any measure of that standard. Whether you agree with the job that Jeff Sessions has done, or whether you think he's the worst attorney general in the history of the United States, we've never seen this dynamic before between a president and his own attorney general.
Right. Well, we'll see what's coming forward. Do you think that Haley's resignation presents any future issues for the Trump administration?
I think it presents some opportunities for her. Remember, Nikki Haley is a fairly young person. Again, she seems to have emerged from this time in this, uproarious, 2 years of the Trump administration with not only a reputation intact, but in a lot of ways enhanced. Because there were these moments that she stood up to the president and kind of spoke her mind. Tactfully and surgically, but she was a very strong voice and somebody who commanded attention in this Trump White House. So, much in the same way that other people have emerged from previous White Houses and then went on to maybe be viewed as potential candidates or nominees for other positions. It wouldn't be out of the question to think that Nikki Haley, somewhere down the line, could run for higher office. Could she run for U.S. Senate? Certainly.
She has a lot of opportunities that are coming forward.
The only reason I would go in maybe a different direction than some of those tweets is that if you're the Republican Party and you get into a session where Donald Trump is not able to maintain his reelection in 2020, well, you're going to have to start looking for a whole new crop of candidates in 2024. And Nikki Haley would certainly rise to the top of that list if Donald Trump is not successful in 2020.
Well, we will see what's coming forward. The president did say that he was going to be making his announcement for her replacement in the next few weeks. So we will see, and we will be talking again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're not going to talk about what happened to the Yankees last night?
What?
16-1. We're not going to discuss that. It's terrible. Terrible.
Do you want to talk about what happened to the Yankees?
No, I'm over it. I'm over it. They got another game tonight. If they lose, season's over. Whatever.
I'm sorry.
Red Sox.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? That's what we were meant to see, right? Yankees and Red Sox battling it out in the playoffs.
It happens.
That's what we want. I was hoping, though.
Sorry. Yeah, and the Redskins fans who had their big loss last night as well.
I was too busy crying over the Yankees.
Yeah, I know. I can tell.
Cry over the Redskins, too. I'm out of tears. So.
Yeah, no more tears to cry. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching, and thank you again.
No problem.
Hey everybody, Sam here in the newsroom. Thanks for watching. We had some tape playback earlier of UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. She announced her resignation today. You can watch the full thing on our Facebook page on Fox 5 DC's Facebook page. Right now, we're still streaming on YouTube, so I thought maybe we would check in. There's a bear in a tree that some authorities are trying to get down in Massachusetts, so we'll check in with that.
This is a mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check to see if you guys can hear me. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Citrus County Sheriff Mike Pendergast, and as we make our preparations for Hurricane Michael and its effects on the Nature Coast area, we have a special privilege today that Governor Scott has stopped by and met with Emergency Operations Center folks, talked to our Emergency Management Director, and had an opportunity to get an update on what preparations we've been doing across the county since we got the word that Hurricane Michael would be a potential impact for Citrus County and 145,000 residents. And the governor's been traveling around the state, talking to emergency management officials, of course, our great Adjutant General, General Calhoun, in making the preparations before Hurricane Michael makes landfall during the early morning hours, most likely tomorrow morning. And what I'd like to do now is introduce the 45th governor of the great state of Florida, Governor Rick Scott.
Good afternoon. I just received a briefing on Hurricane Michael from Emergency Management here in Citrus County. Let me be clear, Hurricane Michael is a monstrous storm, and the forecast keeps getting more dangerous. We are now just hours away from seeing impacts. Again, Hurricane Michael is coming to the Gulf Coast and Panhandle, and impacts will start in just a few hours. The time to prepare is right now. The storm is dangerous, and if you don't follow warnings from officials, this storm could kill you, and you cannot take it lightly. Yesterday, I formally asked President Trump to issue a pre-landfall disaster declaration that will allow us to draw down more federal resources. As soon as this is approved, I will get that information to you. I also spoke with the President yesterday. He committed to providing any and all federal assistance Florida may need. We have declared a state of emergency in 35 Florida counties. This allows state, federal, and local emergency managers to be able to quickly respond to this disaster. Yesterday, I announced the closure of state offices in the 35 counties currently under our emergency order. I've spoken to FEMA Administrator Brock Long again today, and a team from FEMA is in the State Emergency Operations Center and providing federal assistance. That includes experts from Homeland Security, the EPA, the Department of Defense, Health and Human Services, and the Army Corps of Engineers. At my direction, the State Emergency Operations Center is fully activated. This means the State Emergency Response Team is on 24-hour response. We are 100% focused on preparing for Hurricane Michael. Here's what the state is doing right now. I've activated 2,500 National Guardsmen for storm response. They have deployed with boats. On law enforcement, 120 Fish and Wildlife officers are ready for deployment and will respond with a variety of specialized equipment, including shallow draft boats, ATVs, airboats, and four-wheel drive vehicles. The Florida Highway Patrol is making nearly 350 troopers available for deployment across the Panhandle, and they have transitioned to 12-hour shifts. Law enforcement will also be manning bridges to make sure that when conditions become too dangerous, the bridges are closed. Listen to these officers. Law enforcement and our National Guard around our state are heroes, and so many will be leaving their families and placing themselves in danger during the storm to help you and others. We are very grateful for their dedication. Transportation. The Florida Department of Transportation is actively monitoring Hurricane Michael and is preparing crews in anticipation of landfall. To help with evacuations, I directed the Florida Department of Transportation to waive all tolls on the Panhandle. This includes Midway Bridge and Spence Parkway in Okaloosa, Darken Point Bridge in Santa Rosa County, Bob Sykes Toll Bridge in Escambia County, and Orchard Pond Parkway in Leon County. Fuel. Right now, we do not have widespread fuel outages in the state. The State Emergency Response Team has been holding regular calls with the fuel industry and ports in Florida to ensure they can get gas to areas safely. Floridians can download the app Gas Buddy to check where fuel is available. We will be monitoring fuel throughout the day. This is a top priority, and our goal is to continue to make sure fuel is flowing. We will do everything we can to make sure gas stations continue to have fuel. If we need to support them by helping them get the fuel faster to our gas stations, we'll do that. Health facilities response. The Florida Agency for Healthcare Administration is in contact with healthcare facilities to ensure they have the resources they need. The Florida Department of Health has 5 ambulance strike teams and 35 special needs shelter teams ready to deploy. Expectations are, if you're responsible for a patient, you're responsible for that safety of that patient through this entire storm. Shelters. The Florida Department of Education is working with local districts to ensure they have everything they need to open shelters quickly. I want to thank our school superintendents and your school superintendent right here in Citrus County for their willingness to open shelters and respond to the needs of our community. They are doing everything they can to both keep people safe during the storm, and then they want to quickly get these schools back open as soon as Michael passes. Shelters have been opening across the Panhandle. As counties provide us information on shelter openings, that information will be posted on floridadisaster.org. You can keep track of when these openings on floridadisaster.org, where they're continuing to open. We are already seeing a significant number of mandatory evacuations being ordered in counties across the Panhandle. If you're under evacuation order, listen to it. Leave now. Do not take a chance. You don't know if roads are going to get closed. We're going to do everything we can to help you. You do not wait. There's an evacuation order. Go to safety. If you're on the fence, don't think about it. Do it. This storm can kill you. Remember, during a storm, first responders, they can't come out in the middle of the storm. They can't come out and save you. So it's too dangerous. You have got to put yourself in a position where you're not in harm's way. So you need to evacuate if you're ordered to do so. But evacuations are not fun. They're not convenient. There's nothing good about evacuations other than it's going to save your life. I always think about my mom growing up. A lot of people don't have a lot of extra money sitting in the bank, and so they think, oh gosh, can I afford this? You can't afford to take a risk with your life. There are so many people in Florida ready to help you, and there's no excuse for you not to keep your family safe. Visit Florida. They have activated a partnership with Expedia. You can go to a hotel partnership with them. You can go to visitexpedia.com you can go to expedia.com/Florida for hotel availability. So here's what we know right now. The National Hurricane Center is active hurricane, storm surge, and tropical storm warnings and watches along the Gulf Coast. Tampa Bay remains under both storm surge and tropical storm watches. As the storm approaches, there will be significant threats of tornadoes. It's critical for you to listen to local news reports. Hurricane Michael is a massive storm that could bring total devastation to parts of our state, especially in this part and and as you go up through the Panhandle. Think about the destruction we've seen before with storms like Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Michael poses a deadly threat, and as it grows stronger, we can expect it to make landfall as a major Category 3 storm on Wednesday along the Gulf Coast. And remember, these storms can speed up. That's why do not wait. The Panhandle and Big Bend will likely see winds in excess of 110 miles per hour. 110 miles per hour. Pensacola could see sustained hurricane force winds of 75 miles per hour. Tallahassee, 75 miles per hour or more. So this is a massive storm. Hurricane Michael is forecast to be the most destructive storm to hit the Florida Panhandle in decades. The storm will be life-threatening, and it will be dangerous. The storm will bring torrential rain to most of the Panhandle and Big Bend, which means flooding will be a major issue. We expect to see up to 12 inches of rain in some areas of the Panhandle. So think about that. A foot of rain is expected in some parts of the Panhandle. What that's going to mean, you're going to get flooded. The National Hurricane Center is forecasting storm surge. The thing that I think I'm most concerned about right now, people don't realize the risk of storm surge. They're anticipating storm surge of up to 8 to 12 feet between Indian Pass and Gulf County and Cedar Key and Levy County. That means the water's going to come in and it's going to come miles inshore, and it easily could rise above the roofs of houses. 8 to 12 feet, 6 to 8 to 12. It's all deadly. I cannot stress enough how dangerous the storm surge can be. Between Cedar Key and the Crystal River, we're expecting to see 6 to 8 feet of surge. 6 to 8 feet of surge. Think about this. When you watch those videos about the tsunami, that's like 3 feet, and that's deadly. So we're talking about more than that. Much of the rest of the Gulf Coast will see between 2 and 6 feet of storm surge, which is still life-threatening. Think about it this way. If the storm hits near Panama City, the Tampa area is still going to see life-threatening storm surge. That's how massive this thing is. You cannot hide. There is no way to hide from storm surge. It's impossible. So get prepared and get out if an evacuation is ordered. Every family must be prepared now. Remember, we can rebuild homes. I mean, look, it's going to be frustrating this happens. I mean, you'll be frustrated, you'll be furious, you'll be so disappointed if this happens to your house. But we can rebuild your house. We cannot rebuild your life. So take this seriously. Take care of your kids. Take care of your grandkids. Take care of all your family members, your parents. You can't rebuild a life. Local governments. Let's make sure everybody's got what they need. And we need to have a power restoration plan. We've heard from talked to a variety of the energy companies. Duke said they have 5,000 personnel pre-positioned to deploy. Gulf Power has 3,000, and I talked to Stan Conley. They're going to be adding more. I just got off the phone with Eric Solage at Florida Power and Light. They pre-positioned 1,400 individuals in 3 different locations, and they've got another 1,800 ready to respond. So across the state, we have 13,000 Florida restoration workers ready, and they're already staged for the response, and more are being made ready today. We've got to do everything we can to, once this thing passes, we're going to lose power, to get the power back on as quickly as we can. I don't want to. We got to keep the fuel flowing, and we got to keep the power back on as quickly as we can. If we need to have local if any community is thinking about local evacuations, get it over with. Do it. Make a decision. And then whatever the local community is saying, listen and do it. Don't take a chance. You cannot afford to wait. Acting quickly is the most important thing we can do right now. Families. Our state will do whatever, and local communities are going to work, do everything they can to make sure that every family and visitor is prepared for any possible impact. But you've got to take care of yourself. 3 days of food, 3 days of water, have your medicine, know your evacuation route. Make sure you have fuel in the gas tank. So check on your neighbors, check on your family, have a plan. So what's great about our state is in Florida, we take care of each other. We've been through storms. We survive our storms if we get prepared. So let's all stay safe, stay alert to weather updates, and watch this storm very closely. Michael can still change direction. We've seen that in the past with storms, and impact any part of our state. So the impacts are going to start in just a few hours, so get ready. There is no reason not to be prepared. None. We expect every family to be safe. I have a family, we all have families. I love my grandchildren. I love my family. I want my family to be safe. I want every family in the state to be safe. There's no reason somebody can't get safety. We know this storm's coming. It's not like something that comes out of the blue. We know this is coming. So prioritize. Get your family to safety. Don't take any chances. You can visit floridadisaster.org to make a plan and get information. You can get information on road closures, shelters, and evacuations, and it's constantly updated. You can visit fl511.com for current road conditions. You can also call the State Emergency Information Line for assistance. It is 1-800-342-3557, 1-800-342-3557, or you can follow us at FLCERT or at FLGovScott on Twitter for live updates. Con la llegada de este huracán, lo más importante que cada familia puede hacer es tener un plan. Familias deben tener por los menos 3 días de comida, agua, medicamentos y otros suministros esenciales. Haga un plan hoy o esté preparado. We'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has. Right. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. Well, my goal is to get everybody safe. If you look at this part of the state, we're going to see like 6 to 8 feet. Yeah. I mean, my goal is to get everybody safety. This isn't about politics. As governor, I represent every family in the state. I want everybody to be safe. I love my family. I love all the families in the state. So I'm going to do whatever I can to get people safe. Yes. And I'll be so disappointed if people don't listen to evacuation orders. There's a reason why everybody's up here. I mean, we are taking this seriously. Every family's got to take this seriously. The sheriff, they can't go out and save you in the middle of the storm. And by the way, if you have 6 feet of storm surge, I mean, and you're out in the middle of it, I don't know how you're going to survive it. I mean, this stuff. I'll give you 2 stories. After Irmine, I talked to a lady, and she was in a 1-story house, probably 7 foot 2, and she had a bunch of pets, so she wanted to leave. The water got up to about a little less than my waist. She knew it was continuing to come in, and it was coming in fast. And she knew she was not going to survive. So thank God she got out of her house, and if there hadn't been somebody, I don't think she even knew them, in a high water vehicle, she would have perished. After Irma last year, if you went down to the Keys after that, here's what they got. They got 140 mile an hour wind. That was horrible. They got 14 inches of rain. That was horrible. They had 9 foot of storm surge. That water just came in, filled up those homes, and sucked everything out. The only thing left was something that either was attached to the wall or really heavy. Nothing. There was nothing in any of those homes. That's what storm surge does. So everybody's got to understand, storm surge is absolutely deadly. The thing that scares me the most is people have seen wind. They have seen a lot of rain. They've even seen flooding. They have not seen storm surge like this. So if 6 to 8 foot of storm surge in this area, say right here, that's massive. Thanks, everybody. Well, you've got an evacuation order right now. You've got an evacuation order for level A. Yeah. So here's the deal. Understand. I mean, this part of the state, as we all know, you've got very low lying, and so the storm surge can be deadly. Can be deadly if you're not careful. So everybody's got to listen to the evacuation orders, and you got to get out and do it now. Because what you don't know is something falls, the road gets closed, some bridge gets closed, stuff like that. You can't get out, and then they can't. Once it starts, they can't come in and get you. So you've got to. I just tell everybody that, and the reason I'm traveling state is, as Michael says, everybody listen to these evacuation orders and really stop and think about the storm surge. Because the thing that scares me the most is the fact that people have never seen storm surge like this. I mean, I was talking to the state meteorologist, and she says she doesn't, and we say in my talk that it's decades, she doesn't know when we've seen something like this in the Panhandle before. And we've had some horrible storms in the Panhandle. But Citrus County and a lot of this area, Citrus, Taylor, leaving these areas are so low lying, it's really dangerous for storm surge. And storm surge comes in for miles. And this is not a little bitty storm. This is a massive storm. It's not quite. I think the last thing I saw, it wasn't quite as big as Irma, but it's a massive storm, and it's moving. All right, thanks everybody.
Greece for the U.S. impact?
Greece has been a NATO ally for decades. Greece has been a solid ally. We work closely together. Their officers go to our schools. Suda Bay is one of our most important ports of call in the Mediterranean in any part of NATO. And we have a very close collaboration, including my personal interaction with the MOD, the minister who will be here today. So they're an excellent ally all the way through from what they've been working on with the refugees to the way they support the U.S. Navy operations and the collaboration between our military, plus our diplomatic collaboration in Brussels has been strong.
Are you concerned about the defense budget, depending on how the midterm elections go?
No, I think defense has proven through this period. Nice tie, by the way. I must admire your taste in
got the
ties.
idea from you.
Yeah, exactly. Haberdasher must be the thing. But I think defense spending, defense policy has been an area of bipartisan, overwhelming bipartisan support. Again, it's somewhere upwards of 83–85% of the House and the Senate voting for our bill this year. Appropriations bill in the Senate, it was 93%. 93 senators voted for our bill. It's just, it's hard to believe that we don't have some of the highest levels of bipartisan support that we've ever enjoyed. And this again was not for a reduced bill or a modest bill. This was the American people making sacrifice, including political sacrifice for some of those political penalties for someone that still voted for it with the elections coming up. So now I believe that as long as we make a strong statement, a strong argument, and we're transparent with the Congress about what we need, I'm confident that we'll stay well taken care of by our Congress.
Finally, do you notice this Pueblo return from North Korea?
I've got to pull off here. The police will stop them there for no reason. Hopefully I get some more time to talk to you here. Thank you.
Honor, guard. Good. Left hand, jump. Good. Right shoulder, pump. Good. Ready, not. Three, then three, and off.
Look for me. Whoa, sir. What? Shoulder. Whoa.